Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of Reader Republic. Been off for a couple of weeks. Last week was kind of an Easter celebration, so I'm back with episode 3. My God, never thought we'd get to episode 3. Okay, so in the last couple of weeks, we have been talking about subversive literature and about censorship. Now it's time to get a little bit more specific about subversive literature because many people don't have really an idea of what subversive literature actually is. They think it's about shock, about controversy, about politics, sex, violence, whatever happens to offend the most people at any given moment. A marketing ploy, if you will, to sell more books. If a book causes outrage, then it must be subversive. If it gets banned, even better. That's the assumption, but it's wrong because outrage is cheap. Shock is temporary. You can provoke people in 1,000 different ways, and most of it means nothing. People react, they complain, they argue for a while, and then they move on with their lives. Nothing changes. That's not subversion, that's noise. A genuinely subversive book does something far more precise and far more dangerous. It doesn't just offend you, it alters how you see things. It gets inside your head quietly and starts rearranging the structure of what you believe to be true in life. And once that happens, you don't ever go back to the original belief that you had. That's the difference. A shocking book gets your attention. A subversive book changes your perspective. It forces you to revisit, rethink ideas that you previously accepted without question, and ask whether those beliefs actually hold up. And that's where the trouble begins because subversion isn't about attacking something directly, it's about undermining it. It's about exposing cracks in systems people rely on, often without realizing it. Every society runs on a set of assumptions, stories that it tells itself about how things work, why authority exists, why certain structures are necessary. Most people don't examine these assumptions, they just believe them immediately. And if the first book doesn't stand outside that system and throw stones at it, that's too easy. Instead, it steps inside the system and shows you something that you weren't supposed to notice, a contradiction, a flaw, a tension that doesn't resolve. And once you start to see that, the system becomes less stable. That's what makes it dangerous. Not because it tells you what to think, but because it makes it harder to keep thinking the way you did before. Look at the Nazi regime. Look at the Soviet Union. Look at modern regimes like North Korea, Iran, for example. We're even starting to see it in America now. They want to have all subversion, all uncomfortable books removed, and they want people to believe what authority wants them to believe. And that's why subversive books are very, very dangerous to these regimes because it plants new ideas into people's heads, ideas that people in power don't want there to be in the first place. Now, here's where people get it wrong again. They assume that subversive books are loud, that they announce themselves, that they come wrapped in controversy and warning labels, parental advisory labels, please talk to your child about this. Sometimes they do, But the most effective ones don't, because they're kind of more subtle. They don't shout, they don't lecture, they don't demand agreement. They present a world, a situation, and a set of ideas, and then they let you sit with it and think about it. At first, everything feels normal, familiar. The story unfolds, and then something begins to shift, to change. Not enough to reject the book outright, but just enough to create questions that linger in your head, a sense that something doesn't quite align with what you believe in life. And that's all it takes. Because once that tension is there, then your mind starts working on it. You start asking questions, you start making connections, seeing patterns. And by the time you realize what the book is doing, it's already done it. That's subversion. It's not a hammer, it's a wedge. It slips in quietly and then pries things apart from the inside. Now, think about what that does to systems built on belief. If a book makes people question authority, questions institutions, question the narratives they've been given, like I've just said about Nazis and the communist countries, it becomes a problem because it introduces instability. And systems don't like instability, they like predictability. They like people behaving in ways that they want them to behave. So a subversive book kind of disrupts all of that. It attracts attention, it attracts criticism, sometimes suppression, not because they're obscene, although that's sometimes the excuse, but because they make people think differently. And once that happens, the system has to respond. Sometimes the response is obvious: bans, restrictions, removals, community standards. You heard that one on Facebook a lot, and other social media. But more often than not, it's kind of more subtle. The book isn't promoted, it isn't recommended, it isn't included in mainstream conversations. The book is there, but to all intents and purposes, it's invisible. It's pushed down. Just like last time in our last episode, we talked about how social media pushes things down that it doesn't want people to see. Well, it's the same here. The book's there, but it's not there. A book doesn't need to be banned to disappear. It just needs to be ignored. Now, two people can read the same text and walk away with completely different reactions. One shrugs, the other starts questioning everything. The difference isn't the book, it's the reader. Subversion only works if the reader reads the book and questions it. If they sit with discomfort instead of rejecting it, if they follow the idea further than they're used to following ideas, different ideas, then that's why most subversive books aren't universally recognized. Some people see nothing, others feel something shift in their thinking. That's the moment that matters. The moment when certainty cracks, when something that you assumed was correct isn't actually correct. That's not comfortable for the person because it means letting go of something. Simplicity, stability, the idea that things in life are straightforward. And if a subversive book challenges these ideas, people don't like that. Which brings us back to the key distinction. Subversive doesn't mean dangerous, it means uncomfortable. And those two things, they get confused constantly. So here's the simplest way to understand it. A book that confirms what you believe is safe. A book that challenges you but can be dismissed is provocative. But a book that quietly changes how you see the world in a way that you can't undo, that's subversive. And those are the books worth paying attention to. Okay, so let's move out of the theory and let's get into something a bit more practical, because if you understand what subversive literature actually is, you should be able to recognize how it's treated and how you react to it. So here's what I want you to do. Start with something familiar. Start with 1984. Everyone knows it. Everyone thinks they understand it. It's taught in schools. It's quoted constantly. How many times have you heard Big Brother or Orwellian? It's part of the language now. So this is a good one to start with. Okay, it's safe. The story itself is considered to be safe, at least on the surface. So go and look it up, read the description, read the reviews, notice the tone of how it's described. If it's framed as important, as a classic, as essential reading, I love this book. Now, hold that in your mind. Next, look at Brave New World. Again, it's familiar, it's accepted, it's widely discussed, but it's often framed differently. Less as a warning, more of a kind of a thought experiment. This book, there are many aspects of this book that are very controversial and can be considered subversive. I'm not going to give away the story, but when you read it, you'll realize very quickly why this will never be made into a movie. Now, shift slightly and go to Fahrenheit 451. Now, this is the ultimate irony, because it's a book about book burning, a book about censorship, and yet it's widely available, widely taught, and widely accepted. No one's trying to hide this one. It's not something popular, it's not something recommended, it's something obscure, something that doesn't show up on the front page of Amazon. Now, look at how you found it. Was it easy, or did you have to dig? That alone tells you something. Now, click on it, read the description, pay attention to the tone. Is it neutral, or is it guiding you? Look for certain words: controversial, disturbing, problematic, challenging, not for everyone. These aren't random. They frame your expectations before you even start reading. Look at the reviews, not just the ratings, the language. Some will praise it, others will warn about it. They'll tell you how to interpret it, how to feel about it, what to be cautious of. Now stop and ask yourself something. Have you even read a single page yet? Or have you already been told what to think? Now do something else. Find a book that's widely accepted, popular, safe. Compare the tone. Notice the difference. One is presented as an experience, the other is presented as something to approach carefully. That's not accidental, that's positioning. Now, open the book, read a few pages. Don't overthink it, just read. And then ask yourself, is this actually dangerous? Or is it just making me uncomfortable? Because the moment you realize the reaction isn't coming from the content alone, it's coming from you. Now push it further. Find something that genuinely challenges you, something you'd normally dismiss. Read it anyway, and pay attention to your reaction. Do you engage with it, or do you look for reasons to reject it? Because that reaction, that instinct to shut something down instead of exploring it, that's where subversion either works or it fails. Subversive literature isn't just about what's written, it's about how it's positioned and how you respond to it. Some books get pushed, some get ignored, some get labeled, some get softened. But the ones that matter, the ones that actually change how people think, they tend to sit slightly outside all of that, not fully visible, not fully accepted, but not completely gone either. And those are the ones worth finding. Sometimes discomfort is the signal, and if you're willing to follow it, that's where things start to get interesting. In the next episode, we'll be diving into these books one at a time, and the first one we're going to look at is 1984. So I'll be back next week, and we're going to look at 1984. Okay, Bye for now.